What's going on, everybody? It's Jan from Justice for Hire, and welcome to Tai Chi to the People. We do this every week at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. Anybody is welcome to join. There's no cost to train. I love sharing Tai Chi. I was the former captain and coach of the U.S. Tai Chi push hands team, which is kind of like the grappling wrestling side of the martial art of Tai Chi. So I love sharing it from that perspective of dealing with intense pressure and being able to work with that pressure in your own body and translate that to everyday life. So I love sharing this. Justice for Hire, if you don't know, is a cinematic universe that we are building with a community. It's a show we're producing together with a global cast, and anybody can join the cast right from their phone from justiceforhire.app. And every week we dedicate our training to the noble cause of the week. And normally we'll do a charity of some sort, etc. That always is thematic to what we're doing in Justice for Hire. But since we are running an equity crowdfunding campaign for our studio that's producing Justice for Hire, you can check us out at Real World. And Real World is REELWURLD. And you can find us on WeFunder, wefunder.com/realworld. And you can actually invest in the company, own a part of the company as we're building technology to bring the audience into movies and television. So check us out there. And without further ado, we're going to start with some Tai Chi. And this week is Valentine's week. So I have a fun video coming out, a fun Tai Chi Valentine's Day video coming out. And I want to share a technique that is really, really helpful in push hands, but also in self-defense, in sparring, in any type of martial setting. It's really, really a wonderful move that both my Tai Chi Sifu and my Sancho and Sanda fighting coach showed me in separate ways, but same exact move. So we're going to work on breaking that move down. You can take any move and turn it into Tai Chi. You can essentially add the mechanics and the breath work and the visualization to anything that you do in life. So Tai Chi is really more so something that can move with you anywhere. And we're going to start today with our wonderful warm-ups and then go from there. So let me just pin this here so you guys can see. All right. So standing, feet shoulder length apart and parallel. If you want to know parallel, you can just look at your foot and put your finger in between the pinky toe and the ring toe and just draw a straight line back. Notice how all this kind of gets cut off when you draw that straight line back to your heel. And you're going to line up those two lines on your feet, the outside lines, to make your parallel. So that's really, really helpful adjustment. And you're going to have an imaginary string lifting from the top of the head. This imaginary string, it's going to help you with the posture, but you're going to do your best to leave your collarbone behind. And if you do lift your collarbone up, you're going to drop after the lifts. So establish that imaginary string. You're going to move the attention up here to the top of the head, soften the collarbone, keep the shoulders down, and you're going to feel this cascading of relaxation going all the way down through the tailbone. Tailbone will fall straight down. You want to remove any unnecessary tension in the back of the body. Inhaling into the belly, specifically 3 finger lengths below the belly button. It's called the lower dantian, second chakra in yoga, same area. Inhale into the belly, palms facing flat down, special attention on middle finger of each hand. And exhale, washing the breath down the arms and palms and fingertips. Inhaling into the belly. Exhaling, washing down the arms, the palms and fingertips. Keep your mouth on the ceiling, your tongue on the ceiling of your mouth, and the mouth closed. All the breathing is in and out through the nose. Do your best to scan the body while you do this. You can deviate from the breath if you need to for a moment, and just scan the body quickly or briefly, moving the attention down. Try to feel for any particular stress, any tension, any dark patches that you might see with the mind's eye, any cold areas of the body. When you find those, identify those, you're going to inhale into the belly and exhale, push that color visualization to wherever you might need to warm up, soften, release. Make sure the weight is mostly on the center of the heels. The knees are slightly bent, only very slightly. Inhaling deep. Exhale, hands float down. Inhaling up. And exhale, push the color through the palms and fingertips. We're doing uplifting heaven. Breath. 1. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Interlaced fingers. And then inhaling up, stretching onto the balls of the feet. Heels come off the ground, stretching out of the hips onto the toes, looking up, and exhaling as you come down, back onto your heels. If you go too far back on your heels, your toes will lift up. So you don't want that. You want to keep in the center of the heels. And then inhaling up, breathing formula number 2. Inhale even deeper. Intensify the breath coming in through the fingertips into the belly. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Stretching out of the shoulders onto the toes. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Breathing formula 3. Exhale out. Inhaling stage 1. Stage 2, interlace fingers, inhale even deeper. Stage 3, inhale even deeper. And exhale down. 4-stage inhalation, inhaling up 1. Inhale even deeper, intensify the breath. 2, 3, even deeper. 4, even deeper. Exhaling out. Again, this time we're going to emphasize the muscles, use the belly first, and now the obliques on stage 2. Feel them expanding out to the sides. The lower back on stage 3 expands behind you, and the entire belly, obliques, lower back, expanding in all directions around you. And exhaling out. Exhalation is just as long as the inhalation, if not a little bit longer. One more time, belly. Even deeper obliques. Even deeper lower back. Even deeper the entire belly. Exhaling, shifting to one side, widen the stance, fix the camera. Half horse stance, feet shoulder length and a half apart, so shoulder length and a half. Hollow fists resting right on the hips. Soften the elbows to help soften the shoulder. The pelvis will rotate on the femur, so inhale deep, exhale. Back stay straight as you go down. Inhale, breath pulls you to the side and up. Exhaling down. Inhale, breath pulls you to the side and up. Eyes on the belly button. Exhale. Inhaling up. Exhale. Sink. Soften into the stance. Inhale, expand the side that you're leaning toward. Lengthen it. And exhale. Sink a little lower and back. Inhale. Your best to extend upwards and back. Exhale, sink into it. And let the breath finish and roll you over to the other side. Inhale, extend upward. Whatever side you're leaning toward. Do your best to keep the hips as balanced as possible. The weight, double weight on both feet. Inhaling up. Exhale, sink more into it. And then roll. Inhaling up one more time. Eyes on the belly button as you lean back. Exhaling, going down. Reverse. Breath just feel like a rope that you're climbing and then release it. Inhaling up. Exhale down and extend. Inhaling up, side lean toward. Exhale down even more. And let that breath continue to the back. Inhale, extend. Keep your eyes on the belly button. Exhale, sink even lower. Then let the breath roll you to the other side. Inhale, extend, lengthen. Exhale, deepen, and go down. One more breath. Exhaling down. Drop the arms. Inhaling up. Exhaling out. And for our first Qigong exercise, exhaling, sinking into one side, one leg. Inhale, golden rooster. Thigh parallel to the ground. Same hand and foot raised, so my left leg is up, my left arm is up. My palm is in front of my forehead, 2 inches in front, and my shoulder blades disappear into my upper back. My lower back, I soften and I sit. Do my best to keep my hips balanced like they're a bowl of water that I don't want to spill in either direction. The hands and the heel, hand, are all along the center line projected in front of you. Align with your nose. That center line awareness projected in front of you, and place the heel, hand, and hand on there. This is golden rooster. The application here is to place one leg around the leg of your opponent, one hand behind the lower back of your opponent, and the other hand rolling up from the neck to the chin, sometimes the nose of the opponent. Boom. You roll them right up and over. Switch legs. Exhaling. One hip collapsing into the supporting leg's groin. Feel the muscle wrapping around the legs as if you're going into the root, into the ground, and then let the root come out of the ground, inhaling up. And again, heel, hand. One imaginary line projected outward from the center line. Feel the imaginary string lift you from the top of the head as you sink a little lower. Do your best to keep the knee as high as the hip, if not a little higher. Shoulders soft. And the breathing is into the lower dantian, drawing the color into the belly, and exhale, moving it throughout the body. If you want to get more specific, you can roll the breath, do big orbit breathing, which can be up the front, down the back. Or if you've been trained the other way, up the back and down the front, meaning rolling the breath up the back, exhale, rolling it down the front. I only do that when I'm preparing for competition. Otherwise, I keep it up the front, down the back, because I feel happier that way. Another way to do it is to inhale, draw the color, breath work in through the soft part of the body, meaning the inside of the arms, into the belly, up the inside of the leg. And then when you exhale, feeling the sensation moving out the hard part, down and out through the hard parts, the outside of the arm, outside the leg. So it comes into the belly and out to the heart, and switch. Do 10 breaths here. And switch sides, exhale down. Inhaling up. 10 breaths. I want to take one moment to emphasize the bounce. When I say the bounce, this moment here where I soften from the hip falling into the groin, the weight starts when it falls in. The first place I emphasize is my heel on the supporting leg. I feel the weight go from the heel. As I continue to soften this hip into the groin, I feel the weight start to intensify in the ball of the foot. And finally, on the big toe. The big toe is like a button. Another analogy is to think of a bouncing ball. And this mechanic is super important because when you're doing especially push hands, I found it very helpful for Sancho, for Sanda, for kickboxing in general, striking in general. But push hands is where I was taught, specifically sports push hands by Josh Waitzkin and Grandmaster William C.C. Chen, where I was taught this concept of the bounce, where you either bounce yourself or you bounce your opponent like a bouncing ball. Both require your commitment to the concept. And so that concept even manifests here. This is a Wu style exercise, the way, for the most part, the way I'm showing it. But the reverse breathing yang style bounce concept I've integrated because of how important it is and how important it is to be able to do it even on one leg. And so really allow yourself to sink and feel the breath work, the muscle wrapping all the way down. And then there's that one moment where the big toe presses into the ground. And that press is like the ball in super slow motion, hitting the ground, compressing as much as it does from all that downward energy, and then starting to come right back up. So you press the big toe into the ground and everything starts to come right back up. Right back up. And once you come right back up, you soften the weight back onto the heel. The only reason you're softening back onto the heel is because we're holding this posture, meaning you don't want to keep holding on the ball of the foot and the big toe because it's going to keep putting pressure on your kneecap. So you want to take as much pressure off the kneecap as possible by shifting the weight back to the heel, the center of the heel. You're going to put more work into the back of the leg rather than on the front, the top, just above the kneecap. The bounce concept is really for moments, for essentially high pressure moments where you're launching an opponent out. So you definitely train it, but you do these wonderful static exercises to build the sustainable strength. And then of course, you know how to translate that, convert for the appropriate moments, martial moments, into the full bounce. And let's work on this concept that I was sharing earlier for Valentine's Day. And this concept is, we're going to turn this into a slew of exercises. So the first concept is simply the drop. This exercise, before we even get into the breakdown, has many names. I've come across many names. I even called up a buddy, Max Chen, William Chen's son, who's a pro fighter. I'm like, hey, what do you call this exercise? He's like, oh. But essentially, the concept is someone places their hands on you against a wall. You're pinned up against the wall. From here, you soften, pelvis rotating on the femur, you soften, just like in the beginning of the Tai Chi form, or of many Tai Chi forms, not all of them have this, boom, dropping downward. Not all of them have this extreme drop, this is the Wu style drop. But the concept still remains the same. Yang style, boom, here, coming up, or reverse breathing yang style. I do another yang where it doesn't drop much at all, but there's still, it's not necessarily an angle, but there's still the drop. So here, let's just focus on this concept here. One, you're dropping into the opponent who's pressing on your palm, on your shoulders. So you have this little pelvis rotating on the femur, my feet are shoulder width apart, And if I was up against a wall, the concept would be that I'm getting just enough space between my back and the wall that essentially puts your opponent in a position where they're not getting what they want. The opponent wants to pin you. You've deviated, you've caused them to deviate from that desire only slightly, but that slight amount is enough for you to input new data. And that's what we're really talking about here. And a great amount of my push hand strategy from a competitive position is essentially taking away the thing that the opponent believes that they want. If someone wants this position or that position, I make it just a little bit uncomfortable for them so that they don't feel good. And the second they don't feel good in what they originally wanted, they start to make adjustments. And it's when they start to make those adjustments that I execute my techniques. And I do that over and over and over again, rapid fire. So, so with that said, we have tournaments coming up and I'll be, people want to be competing against me. So I just gave away a little bit of the secret. But all you have to do is put some pressure on their hands. More specifically, if you want to get really specific, it's called crimping. So the concept is to put your shoulders, put pressure on the joints that just makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable or a lot uncomfortable. But of course, sometimes someone may have you up here and you may not be able to roll their hands back. Or if they had it on your belly, you could roll or inflate the belly and roll someone's hands. Those are wonderful techniques. And if you can get the crimp here, that's fantastic. But for now, the concept is create some space, shift the opponent's arms up, and then you spin around the opponent. So you're going to spin around, take out their hips and place them down. I will grab a partner for this in a few moments, hopefully. But I want to just show you the concept. As a matter of fact, no, I'm going to grab a partner right now. This is super, super important. Here we go on a little adventure. May I have you as a partner for just one moment to demonstrate a move? Yes, you. Thank you. All right. All right, we're going to have a partner in a moment. But until that moment comes, we're going to do this fantastic exercise just to train that pelvis rotating on the femur, and we're going to exhale. And when you exhale, rather than emphasizing the shoulders, we're going to emphasize the concept of weight. When I say the concept, I mean immediately you're going to tell yourself that your hands have become heavy. So all of a sudden, hands become heavy. Pelvis rotates on the femur, my hands are pulling me down. From here, you can shake out, let's lift the arms and just shake them out. And then inhale, breath lifts the wrists lift the body. Exhale out. Inhale, draw in, exhale it down. Again, that's the pelvis rotating on the femur, hands become heavy. Now we can go inhaling right up, breath lifts the wrists. Exhale out, inhaling deep. One more time, feet shoulder length apart, hands become heavy. They're pulling you down, weights on the heels mostly, and then shifting to the ball of the foot and big toe, inhaling up. That's your little balance. Exhaling out, inhale, drawing in. Now let's work on this concept, the press against the wall. And for this, I'm going to move, we're going to move against the wall. It's going to be great. All right. There we go. There we go, Autumn. And so the concept here is opponent pushing you against the wall. Boom. I'm pressed against the wall and pinned against the wall. So the first thing you want to do is get a little bit of distance. It may be hard. You may start pushing from your upper body. The truth of the moment is that a moment of real violence is very, very tough to prepare for. So, and again, this works for the sport. It also works for self-defense, etc. Works for sport fighting too. Works for push hands and normal sport fighting. So, ideally, let's practice the concept of the pelvis rotating on the femur. Notice how much distance between my back and the wall here. So I get this wonderful distance here. I have a little bit of roll on her fingertips. That's one. Two, I'm connecting my hands to her elbows and I'm dropping my weight. I can keep her arms at the same height or I can pop them up if I really feel the need. Pop up, and then I'm going to pick a direction. I'll go toward the camera here, and I'm pushing. Notice that I did a little press to go past her arm. My other arm is like a big hook around her body. I'm using that to spin around, taking one step and another. And now look, I stand up. My fingers are reaching up. The concept here now is a clean, hence being called clean and drop, a clean hip check. You check the hip forward, and then this little space that's been created, you step back and bring your opponent into that position. There's also a finisher here where people often will put a knee behind the back and a rear naked choke in, but we don't need to go to that distance. Thank you so much. So the concept, I want to just bring that concept here because we're going to turn all that into Neigong. And we're going to do it right now. It's going to be great. So the concept of create the distance, lift the arms, spin around the opponent, boom, standing up. Standing up, making a clear connection. And on that, the apex of the upward motion, you check, hip check straight in. That hip check doesn't have to be square. I'll post a video this week using it in sparring last week, and I'll only show the hip check here. And that hip check is very familiar to people who played judo before, etc. Where you can get it on one side or the other, but whatever side you get it on, if you get it straight in, then you take the opponent straight back. If you get it on an angle, you spin them on the angle and you turn them down. Either way, anyway, you can always adapt these things, but we'll start from the beginning. You don't have to be against the wall, but if you are, you'll feel the wonderful counterpoint created by the pelvis rotating on the femur and the wall at counter pressure. 1, 2, sinking down, palms up. Pick a direction. I'll pick the opposite this time, and I slide. This hand helps to slide around. 1, I step with my, first I step with my outside leg, I spin my inside leg, and I step with my outside leg again. So 3 steps to get right to the behind the opponent. From here, throw the check in, and then step back and drop down, dropping the opponent. And the drop downward is essentially you causing the opponent to give up space and then pulling them into that space or dropping them into the space. You can do a pull if you need to, but the concept is they've already given it up and you can just take it away. It's a very sudden, shocking feeling. It does not feel good to have that done to you, but you can get used to it. That's fun. So let's turn that into a few Neigong exercises. Again, let's do the first one. Exhaling. Hands become heavy. Inhale, breath lifts the wrist up. Exhaling out. Inhale, draw the wrist back. Exhaling down. Very, very calm. Hands should feel like feathers. They feel like feathers, and all of a sudden they become heavy, super heavy, bringing you down. Pelvis rotates on the femur. This mechanic of changing the idea of weight is one of the most important mechanics I've ever experienced in any modality at all, any martial or otherwise. For the hand to all of a sudden become heavy when doing any type of push hands, playing around, it really changes. It changes everything for you to be able to insert an idea into a particular area of your body or someone else's body, and for them to feel it, to feel the change, the very overt, undeniable change. So let's do it one more time. Weight heavy. And if you just do this, and again, you might be very familiar with this, but I wasn't taught that idea of weight at first for many years. That's something that came from the push hands, the sports push hands world. So I highly recommend, if you already have done this exercise before, if you but you haven't done it with the concept of weight, bring it in there. And it's especially helpful for the move needle at the bottom of the C. Finding the needle at the bottom of the C, which has so many different variations. Wu style, we'll do it here, but again, weight brings you down. And it brings the opponent down. You've taken the opponent's arm, you have their elbow, you have their wrist, boom, you take their wrist and elbow, and you can launch the opponent behind you. It's really, really awesome. The reverse breathing Tai Chi concept of what we get from the Yang style, coming in, middle finger, nose, and inhale, expanding the upper back muscles. 1, middle back muscles. 2, but still the idea of weight down. And then exhaling up becomes very, very light. Everything becomes very soft when you reset afterward. And then, of course, the Yang style that is probably more well known, but this one is a version with Luhanbafa, water boxing, is pulling up, big step back, and then exhale, dropping down, 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 down. And I'm going into a cat stance here, or a hanging leg stance, but you really drop all the way down. But again, that concept of weight. So it's not just pointing the fingers down. You want the hand to feel heavy. You want to bring the idea of the attention there. So hands become heavy, and now here, inhaling up and popping the elbows up. On the pop, you can drop the weight if you like, or you can keep it the same level. Either one is great. If I'll say this, it takes more finesse to keep someone's arms at the same level and drop your body. So when I can do that, it feels amazing. The teachers that have shown that to me, it's really, really smooth and very impressive. I can't always get that, so sometimes, especially if you're in a self-defense situation, you really need to get it to move. Popping the arms up, do it if you need to. And now, whatever side you choose, you step with that foot. I'm going to step with my right, and I'm going to push the opponent's hand or arm. I'm going to throw it across my head. And it's I'm stepping, so I'm using my right foot out, and I want some counter energy to get me to go even faster. So I'm pushing off and going with it to clear, and notice that this arm is left behind. That's the arm that's going to wrap around the opponent that's right here. So let's start again. Dropping down 1 and hands up. Pick a side, I'll go to my right and throw the arm over. 2. I've stepped with my right foot, and now my left foot repositions and spins toward the opponent. I have the opponent right here. And 3, my right foot spins around. So I step. Notice that my hip rolls over as I reposition. And now my hip is farther away. As I come up, I hip check. Hip check forward, and then step back. The step back, again, as I was mentioning before, that step back drop, which we'll do it as a Neigong exercise, can also be set up for a final finish, the finisher of the move, which is positioning your knee on the spine of the opponent and going for a rear naked choke. That's cool. It's great stuff. But we're going to focus more so on the drop, because the drop is great for push hands, for sport push hands, for Sancho, and of course for just putting someone down and running away so you don't have to deal with them anymore. So pelvis rotates on the femur, hands come up. Choose a side. I'll choose my left. Step with my left, push with my left. The opponent's arm. My right arm turns into a big hook. I step my right foot around and spin my right fingers up. And inhale even deeper. Pop forward. Step back. When I step back, the fingers, they almost roll. Very, very gentle. They were pointing up like 2 guns, pointing up. But then they gently roll. Very similar to our Neigong exercise. White crane spreads his talons right here. We have that wonderful, very gentle, like kneading the dough. Except we'll do it opposite, facing us. And fingers up, boom, gentle pull down. And you get this wonderful distance. And drop down as much as you feel comfortable. Let's do it from the other side. Inhale deep, exhale. You can inhale, stepping out. That's step 1. Step 2, reposition, spin the foot left behind toward the opponent as the fingers spin up. And 3, step around. You will definitely, depending on your body, but you may feel a little bit of a pivot. Once you leave one foot, stepping, pivot on the other, those are totally fine. I'm pivoting on the ball of my foot. Some Tai Chi purists say that you don't pivot on the ball of your foot, you only pivot on your heel. I say you pivot on whatever works for your body. And you get there with the breathwork, visualization, and biomechanic, and whatever biomechanic works for you. So let's do it from the front now. Standing, pressed against the wall. Crimp the wrists and shoulders, dropping forward. That's 1. 2, create a little more distance. Lift the elbows up, choose a side. 3, step, stepping my left, pushing with my left hand, right hand opening up. 4, my right foot spins as my right hand comes up. I'm inserting myself to the outside arm of the opponent and reaching around to come back. 5, up. Pop the hips forward when you stand fully. Upward, you pop forward. And then step back and drop. Let's do it from an angle. See the angle. 45 degrees. Exhaling forward. You can also give yourself that wonderful sensation of the hands becoming heavy. So, hands become heavy. Feel that wonderful alignment. Weight mostly on the heels. And then you go to the big toe. The big toe, allow the big toe to activate with the fingertips. So I'm on my heels here, but it looks like I'm on my big toe. Now I'm on my big toe. Just look at that difference. It's so subtle, most people will miss it. So ball of foot, big toe, heels. So I'm gonna drop on my heels and then activate ball of foot, big toe. And it's those little understandings of your own biomechanics that increase your personal power, because you know that you're generating a different level of connectivity with different focus. So my focus changes from here. This is the setup, execution. From an angle, I'm going to step to my right. I push with my right. I open up my left. I spin my left in. So I mean I release my left leg and I spin it toward. Let me actually point the camera down so you can see the foot for a moment. Here I've stepped and then I spin the foot in. So I release and spin. I open up because I know that I'm going to then spin this other foot around and up. Hip forward, step back, boom, dropping down. And again, if you need to turn the opponent, you can turn them either way.
Chad?
Yes.
Do you ever make that a 2-step and start with that, just skip that first step and step across with that, just like you just did, except you just skipped the first step?
Skip the first step.
So skip the first step, step out, and instead just step across and behind. Does that work?
I think that it's so tough for me to say what works and what doesn't work. I think that this is the kind of stuff where you take the template, and this is just my general approach to any training. You take a template that someone gives you, and then you test it live with partners, and whatever works under reasonable pressure, like you start to repeat. So can I see your version of what you mean by
well, exactly the stepping that you just showed us.
Yep. So when you say the stepping, 1 and I step out 1. So you're saying remove the step out?
Right. And then just start with the second step that you did, which was kind of across.
Yeah, across.
Yes. Yeah. And then you're swinging around too.
I'd have to try it on a partner. Okay. And again, just because whether or not it works for me doesn't mean that it will or won't work for somebody else.
Right.
So I think that's really, really interesting. And I totally understand what, that there's 3, how about we just do 2? I totally get it. Like, is 2 going to be more effective and more efficient? And it's quite possible, totally possible. I'd say this, that my Sifu, my Tai Chi Sifu, when he taught me this exercise, his version of it, he's not a fighter. So he's a wonderful Tai Chi purist with a lineage to Wukong. And so he has techniques and beautiful skills that a lot of people don't have, versus my buddy who taught me this on his own, who's a street fighter turned professional fighter. And so and so he has lots and lots and lots of experience of fighting in the street bare knuckle and living to tell about it. But the way he showed me has his mentality and his biomechanic in it, which is not necessarily him articulating every single step to me. He's showing me as a, reincarnated Native American gauntlet runner, just how to blast through an opponent's, how to blast out of a bad situation. So
Right.
I'm doing my best, and I think everyone needs to do their best to kind of to make it your own. So my version of making it my own is saying, okay, cool. Well, here's the mechanic from Tai Chi. Here's another mechanic from Tai Chi, and here's how to get to that place softly, and do that check, because it's a wonderful boom. It's a 1-2 check, step back, and again, it's something that when you have this posture, it's super important to remember that by you reaching upward and having the position under the opponent, you're actually straightening the opponent out. So you're bringing somebody up just to instigate a bend. The opponent's probably bent over pushing you. You're spinning around. While you're spinning around the opponent, they're probably trying to readjust to your movement. So as they try to readjust, which more than likely means they're going to be bending down, you get behind and you straighten them up. And now you're in a position of controlling the opponent's behavior, which is something that is so controversial in the Tai Chi world, because of the fact that people often say that, I think a lot of times that to do Tai Chi, you have to be a zened out holy man, and you're only responding to, you have to be able to instigate. And so this concept here of straightening the opponent out, they may come up just for a moment and then just immediately making them bend a way they don't want to bend and then bringing them into it. It's actually very Tai Chi. It's just a matter of how reframing the belief of what Tai Chi is. So again, all those things have to be applied in practice with a partner that you're friendly with. So I hope I answered the question, Mark, which is, I don't know.
Yes, you did. You did answer it.
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Okay. Well, let's try to break this down a little bit more as Neigong exercises. So when it comes to the concept of Neigong exercises in general, Neigong exercises, in my experience, are incredibly isolated power building exercises. Qigong being a very broad set of information, and Neigong being very specific, hyper isolated breathwork and visualization. So let's really work on this the connection from, we already did the weight, heavy arms. Now let's do it. Inhaling up and stick out. So we're going to exhale down, inhale up. So we're already here. We're already exhaling into this heel position. Weight is mostly on the heels, and then shift ball of the foot and big toe. Stick the butt out a little more, meaning that you're engaging that suspension bridge function of the lower back, because you're going to take a lot of weight and pop it up or keep it the same level. But you're going to have to support the weight one way or another. So you use that suspension bridge function of the back and exhaling down. As I exhale my hands down, my lower back softens, the weight shifts back to my heels. Inhaling up, the weight goes forward, suspension bridge function engages more, exhaling down. And of course, we're going to integrate the visualization, pulling the breath work through the fingertips into the soft part of the arms, into the belly. Butt goes out, exhale, goes down. Do your best to keep the sensation of straightness in the spine as much as you can. It should feel like a board on a 45-degree angle, the back, the spine. Exhaling down, weight shifts back to the heels, lower back softens. Inhale. Again, all these subtle mechanics that we're doing are the subtle power, things that most people miss about the moments we're really digging into. The fingertips should feel like they're being pulled to the destination, as if they're straws sucking in the color visualization as you inhale. I'm emphasizing the index, middle finger, and thumb, inhaling up. And of course, as my butt goes back, my arms go forward, meaning that my shoulders go forward. So if I am putting pressure on the opponent's wrists, if they've, for some reason, made the unfortunate mistake of pushing lower on my shoulders than higher, then I'm really getting an interesting, wonderful crimping sensation, which is going to make them uncomfortable. If they are higher, then you're just putting yourself in a position to slide under the pressure of their arms, meaning sliding under the pressure of the arms, which is going to give you the space that you want anyway. So either way, you're making a great, making some great decisions with a difficult situation. We have heels, inhaling up. And now let's break down the next move to a repeatable. Now we'll just go left and right. Stepping out right, push with the left, push with the right. Open the left. Inhale back, step. So I'm stepping from feet shoulder length apart, a shift, step the left foot out, push with the left, the right arm expands. Inhaling back, exhale. Inhale. All hands under the elbow, exhale. Dropping out, and you can even use the camera to give yourself a sense of a line that you're going under the opponent's arm. So you go under your own arm, hand, come up and around. And keep this here just in case you want to make sure that you've cleared that arm. And notice how this also protects the temple, just in case the opponent's arm comes out an elbow once they'll crack you. So you keep the protection up and you keep this arm that's going to grab or swing around their body and come right back. So we have all these little points of protection, stepping out, going underneath, protecting around, out. Inhale back to center, going down. Do your best to kind of just rewind yourself and to go under and out, stepping out. Inhale, under, around, and back. Step out, under, around, under, and back. And of course, the breath work, the visualization, is essentially oftentimes the same. There are variations, but I'm exhaling, pushing the color through the limbs. Inhale, drawing the color in from the limbs into the belly. Exhale from the belly through the limbs. Inhaling, bring myself back. Step out. And when you step out, it's on a 45-degree angle. So you're stepping, or maybe even closer, tighter to the opponent, but you want to step tight so you can swing around and keep as much connection to the opponent's body as possible. Back up. Under and around, up, connect. This wonderful shape, connect. And one more time, the other side. And back. And now let's add the step. So this is the 3-step. 1, stepping out. 2, stepping around, meaning my foot is spinning this way. Stepping around and finger reaching up. So the hand that's here closes the distance. My leg that's out, let me adjust this camera. Under, step out. The leg that's out, 45-degree angle, is going to step in. This is getting close to the opponent's arm on the inside of their body, right on the chest, sternum area, and then reach around and up. This reach around goes around the opponent's hips and inside and up, and you straighten the opponent out as you hip check. So let's bring that around for the other side. You can more than likely do this exercise essentially spinning yourself a few times in one direction and then the other, which will more than likely be the most efficient. So let's see, let's test it out now. Stepping out, coming up around 1, inhale up 2. And then from here, just stepping out around again, that's what I would recommend. And just getting that feeling. If you've ever done bakwa and the stepping, the bakwa stepping, where you're walking a circle and you're walking in with the ba, the number 8 sign with the feet in the Chinese characters, the number 8 sign look like this. So your feet are either going to be positioned inward this way or outward the other way to make that ba sign for bakwa, which is oftentimes stepping in this wonderful circle. So this is very similar to bakwa footwork for this particular moment. Again, here, step around, and then you start to get the bakwa right here. 1, 2, another bakwa moment. And then I would just keep on stepping around with the same moment. I'm going to drop the camera to give you a sense of how to repeat it. So we're going to start from the elbows down, step out, 45-degree cut, and then the bakwa starts. 1, 2, step up, 3, step around. So notice that I keep on stepping around. This footwork is so important. I recommend, maybe once a week or even once a month, doing this exact exercise, but doing it from the bakwa mindset. I'm not a bakwa practitioner, but there are certain things and certain systems that are very, very important. And I think this footwork is one of them. And it's really important also to recognize that in sport fighting, for the most part, at the very least in sport fighting, crossing the legs is a bad idea. However, I think it's really important to be able to cross the legs with strength and clarity of your balance, your weight distribution, and where you're moving from heel, ball of the foot, big toe in these very awkward postures. Awkward postures are super important, especially for the concept of feeling beautiful in your forms that we've talked about in the last few weeks. So I do recommend, holding a 7-star position. The 7-star is middle finger as high as your nose, other hand in front of the heart, and just stepping in that wonderful bakwa, the figure, Chinese figure 8, around and around and around. Of course, doing your best to keep your posture, feel that imaginary strength through the top of the head, maintaining balance in the hips. I'm sure a bakwa practitioner can tell you way more than I can on that. But let's figure out the final move here. So the final move is and again, these exercises, I do these exercises, the application of these exercises, but turning something into Neigong to me is it's a skill that I had to learn on the US Tai Chi push hands team, because we had drills that we would learn things that we didn't know prior to the sport about Tai Chi. So the only thing we could do was reverse engineer and say, okay, this is in the sport, we're going to bring this back into Tai Chi. And so we started doing that, and we would come up with these my teammates would come up, my father would come up with new Neigong exercises that move the breath work and visualization in really, really beautiful ways. So when you see me host a session like this, this is a freestyle version of it. I know the mechanics of these moves, they work for me in live settings, and I want to be able to share them, dissect them with you. So never take anything I'm saying as, oh, the master said this, or this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Either one of those extremes are not what I'm going for. What I'm going for is a laboratory where we're always sharing ideas and building upon this beautiful system that we all have access to make it more accessible to other people and more practical. So with that said, here, coming up, inhaling up, and this sensation, the sensation of the breath pulling the fingers up. Notice that my fingers are going up, but my arms aren't doing this. So this is a really subtle concept that I personally found a little challenging to articulate in a way that people just get. The concept of the fingers are pulled to the destination. I've talked about that before many times, that a fencer once told me that in fencing, the tip of the rapier is pull to the target rather than thrusting it forward. So it's not like a Kung Fu broadsword or gim sword where you're exhaling, pushing the breathwork through the blade. You're inhaling, and the tip of the blade is pulled like a magnet to its destination. That idea is super important, super interesting, because I had to learn about it through Tai Chi push hands first, got the reinforcement through a fencer, more specifically Paul Shull from the Weapon Hunter show. Great guy. And inhaling up, I'm doing the same thing here. So my fingers are being pulled to the destination, but the rest of the body is dependent on what structure you want, the shape you've created through your willpower. So that means I can have this posture, just my finger here, and my fingers pull to the destination. My whole body's going to follow that. Or I could have this, and I have a nice hook. Or I could have this, and notice how my hips are connected to my fingertips now. My fingertips are going up, and my hips are going forward. So you can control and isolate based on that concept. This one point is being pulled upward, and now the rest of the body is going to agree with that. And I'm going to maintain a shape or a structure to do that. Very, very helpful in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So here, the fingers go up, not too much extension on the arms, just the fingers being pulled and the hips are going to connect. So you've done your little bakwa step, you're behind the opponent, inhaling up, exhaling back and drop. Inhaling up, hips forward with a check, exhaling back and drop. Let's inhale up, and now let's add a step back, exhaling back and drop. Inhaling up, check, hips forward, exhaling back and drop. Let me adjust this a bit so you can see that I'm actually going into a lunge. Inhaling up, check, exhaling back and drop. Inhaling up, check, exhaling and drop. And of course, I always recommend being very cautious on your checks, on your hip checks. If you're going to do a hip check like this and go forward, make sure that you're training the lower back and your abdominal area, and of course, even your neck to experience that sudden whip of the body, that sudden whip. It's really, really important, because if you don't do that, it can be shocking and could get hurt. So you want to condition yourself to feel good in these moments and to feel flexible and strong. Inhaling up, hip check. And to get the hip check, all you need, the reason I like to refer to it as clean and drop, is that this moment has to be incredibly clean. This has to be very, very clean. Clean thrust from the hip, from both hips, through both hips, or from one hip to one hip of the opponent. So the clarity of it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be clean and sharp. So that means that if you deviate just a bit from your own alignment to throw off your opponent's alignment, then you come right back, you counterbalance it with the drop. Inhaling out, clean check. So I'm not going too far forward. Exhale. My fingers activate pulling up the check, and then exhale. We've talked about the elevator drop before, where the hips feel like an elevator where the wire has been cut and it falls suddenly. But of course, you want to do it in slow motion to control the drop. So boom, here you have that elevator drop, and the fingers connect to it. Fingers connect gently to that elevator drop. Boom. One more on each side, inhaling up, exhaling down, inhaling up. And inhale, hands out, exhaling down, big breath up, 2 uplifting heavens. One more. Happy we did that, because when I put out the Valentine's Day video, which is gonna be super fun, people actually have a real mechanic to reference. Inhale, fingers reaching back, chest up, hips forward, weight on the toes, exhale, butt back, fingers forward. Soften the knees, inhaling out. Fingers reaching to the back, chest up, hips forward, weight on the toes, exhale, pushing the breath to the palms and fingertips. Down, inhaling out, and now scoop white light into the belly, 1 foot forward, sit on the back leg and wash that light down the leg. Touch the toe, inhaling out, switch legs. Exhale, wash the white light down, touch the toe. Inhaling out, switch legs. 45 degrees, we're gonna sit on one leg and exhale, wash white light down the other. Touch the toe. Inhaling out, switch legs. Exhale down, touch the toe, switch legs 90 degrees. Exhale down. One more. Inhaling up onto the toes. Exhale, walking down. Inhale, draw the white light up. Do your best to really slow yourself down. Sometimes we do this fast. We're doing it fast and you might be losing some of the connectivity. So slow yourself down and really feel that white light, the breath work coming in through all the soft parts of the body into the low dantian. When you're on your toes, exhale, feel it come out and through the back and down the hard part of the arms and the legs as you wash the white light down. Inhaling up, and notice when I come up, pelvis rotates in the femur, breath pulling in through the fingertips. And I go onto my toes, exhale. Inhaling out one more time, and breath pulling, pelvis rotating on the femur, hands coming over the shoulders, behind the back, get a little hip check there, and exhale, wash down the legs. And slap it up. Inside, down. Slap it up the inside, down the outside. Over the shoulders, and down the back. Inhaling out, just the fingers. One more. Put the hands together around the chest. Exhaling, push the color through the chest cavity and tapping around pectoral major. Massage into chest. Sternum, 4 fingers on the sternum, up and down. Hook shape, Abhishek, collarbone. Hook shape under the lip and thumb under the chin and squeeze for the hormones. Really strong pressure. Switch sides. For sleep around the earlobe. Just on the earlobe, squeezing and circle forward, up, back, down, forward, up, back, down. Index and middle finger around the ears, strong pressure for the immune system. And then fingers, face, palms up the face and to the side, release. Up the face to the side, release. Up to the side, release. Fingers to the scalp, front to back, back to front, front to back, back to front. One more front to back, front, massage the scalp, front to back, back to front. Slapping the scalp, front to back, back to front. Gentle banging, front to back, back to front. Grab the scalp, knead it, let go, and release. Release, 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 and reverse it. Release, release, release. And then 4 fingers on the forehead, circles, and then reverse it. Temples, and reverse it. Under the eyes, and reverse it. For the heart right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. Top and bottom, switch. Sides, 4 fingers above the gums, and then beneath the gums, right on the cheek. Tongue, reverse it. Fingers, thumbs. 1, 2, 3, grab. And close the eyes. Inhale, white line to the belly. We're going to use sound. We're going to connect sound to the breath work of visualization. We're going to push that sound. Do our best to feel the vibration in the bone marrow. So we're going to do our best to get our minds to go deep into our bones, even deeper into the bone marrow. And you're going to push that sound through the body, down the legs, down the arms, through all the bones. Inhale to the belly, white light, and use the sound ah. Go through the whole body. Inhale, roll white light up the front of the body, and wash the sound down the back to the bones. Inhale up the left side, wash it down the right side. White line to the belly, push it down the legs into the ground and come back up and around like a fountain in reverse. Feel the sound vibrating through your environment, helping to create the shape that is the visualization. One more breath. White line to the belly, push it to the top of the head, spreads out in all directions, again creating the shape like a big bubble around you. Have gratitude for the body, space that you're in, the good people in your life. Thank you guys so much for training. As usual, I'm Jan. This is Tai Chi to the People. You can join Justice for Hire from justiceforhire.app or just learn about it on justiceforhire.com. You can invest in our WeFunder for our social film studio at wefunder.com/realworld. That's the company producing Justice for Hire, and that's REELWURLD. We're going to make movies and shows with the world, with communities, and it's a great time. And of course, you can always find what I'm doing in Tai Chi on my Tai Chi YouTube channel. That's Coach Jan's Tai Chi. So I love you guys so much. I'm going to press stop, and always feel free to ask questions on anything we're doing here and to add more value for the whole community. Love you.